Okay, let's see here. Phase 1, liquids. Phase 2, liquids. Phase 3, purees. I'm not eating baby food. Phase 4, phase 5. How many phases are there? There's 8 phases? Hey, I'm Steph Wagner. I am a bariatric dietitian and I support patients in the everyday life after bariatric surgery. Are you wondering what is the deal with the phases or stages of the diet after surgery and why do they change from one program to the next? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. First of all, every program does differ quite a bit. In fact, this book has 8 phases, but a book from a different clinic has 3 phases. That's because there's no standard protocol. The governing body over bariatric surgery is the ASMBS. I mentioned this in a video on caffeine, and they put out a lot of great important information on standards of care. And like if you went to a center of excellence for your surgery, then they passed all the accreditation put out by the ASMBS to get that dignification of being a center of excellence. A lot of those things are going to focus on the operating room and healing and recovery and medication and really, really important things. But sometimes with the diet, it's not as standard and there is room for clinics to establish what they feel is the best approach and the best practice. Just like with any other doctor, you will get some that are more conservative and some that feel more comfortable that you can introduce something sooner. Typically, we see 3 main phases, but some programs might take those main phases and kind of chunk them out a little bit more in detail. So at the end of the day, follow your program because you signed up to be under their care. So you want to play by their rules, kind of their standards. But the main reason for a healing diet is to keep the stress low on a really inflamed and ticked off stomach. Certainly, we don't want you to end up back in the hospital for some sort of a stricture, anything that's complicated your healing body. But also, we want to keep you comfortable, and advancing the diet too quickly, even if it doesn't cause major issues, could cause a lot of discomfort because there's a lot of inflammation. So the point of a liquid diet right after surgery is to keep stress low as you're healing, but also for you to get hydrated and figure out how you're going to stay hydrated when you do have restriction in your stomach. Early post-op hydration is a really big deal. Actually, hydration is a big deal beyond that, but in the early weeks and months, the number one reason for a readmission for a patient to show back up at the hospital would be for dehydration. And during the liquid phase, we don't have to worry about the food and fluid rule yet, but as you move into later phases and you're starting to have some soft textured foods, you can't drink with it. You can't drink for 30 minutes after. So we start taking away hydration time. So the initial phase is a really key, important time to figure out how the liquids are going and how you're going to get to at least 64 ounces or more after surgery. Now, I'm going to do more videos to focus on each of those 3 main phases of the diet, the liquid diet, the softs and purees, and the solid foods. So depending on when you're watching this video, you might have access to that already. If not, check back. But let's talk about it. So these 3 main phases are going to start with liquids. There's kind of 2 versions of liquids. You have clear liquids, but then you have full liquids. And really, full liquids means you've added in protein shakes. So again, we'll do a whole video on that because there's a lot there, but that's really phase 1. Some programs would say clear liquids is phase 1 and full liquids is phase 2. So again, that's why there's different numbers of phases. After you've gone through those, usually 2 weeks or so of liquids, then you can start graduating into really soft textured protein foods. Way back in the day, it might have been baby food, but the good news is you never have to touch baby food. It'll be things like scrambled eggs or maybe canned tuna that has mayonnaise mixed in, no onions or relish or anything like that because of the chunks, but you're starting to get some texture in. And honestly, most patients have never been more excited to eat plain tuna with some light mayo. After that, we might start graduating into things like flaky fish or dark meat poultry. So again, some programs might call the soft, really, really mushy pureed things a phase 3. And then when you start moving into things like flaky fish or dark meat poultry, that might be phase 4 or 5. So you do have to dig into the information that they've given you. The thing about that is if you go to Google or you go to Pinterest and you search phase 2 recipes. Well, again, your phase 2 might be somebody's phase 4, right? So it won't always give you what you're looking for. Or if it gives you recipes, you still have to consult your notebook from your program and make sure that is in fact a phase 2 recipe. So my tip here would be to use the words that describe the phase rather than putting phase 2 recipes. Search for pureed foods or soft protein foods or protein shakes. Whatever phase you're in, use more descriptive words than just the number of the phase. Now, the healing diet, it's not for the faint of heart, but it is really important and it does pass. I feel like as you get a badge of honor, there should be a parade in your honor when you've made it through each phase. Every single phase you cross the finish line is a really big deal. It's a big accomplishment. I would love to hear from you. How many phases does your program have? And if you're a post-op patient, you've gone through one or more of these phases, let us know how it went for you and what tips you would give someone that's embarking on the bariatric phases after surgery. Don't forget, I do have more videos coming up, also tons of recipes. So if you are in those initial phases and you're looking for more ideas of what you can have, check out the links below.